The Leaders Coach podcast is about connecting leaders to an identity that will help transform their leadership by engaging in conversations that lead to opportunities for growth, authenticity, and vulnerability. As we're unlocked, we simultaneously empower others to live and lead unique and authentic lives. Let's go deeper. Welcome to the Leaders Coach podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Leaders Coach podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown. As always, I hope you guys are having an incredible day. I hope whatever it is that you are seeking, that it is coming to pass. And if it's not coming to pass for you, my prayer for you is that you will not grow weary in well doing, because in due season you will reap if you faint not. And I think it's so important that we have to constantly remind ourselves of the promises of God, and not just the promises of God, but also remind ourselves of just who we are and what it is that we are to do. And that's why it's important. I believe that it's important that you surround yourselves with people that can help sharpen you and that can encourage you and that can motivate you. And I believe when we do that, what that's doing is reminding us of who we are. I'm reminded of the Lion King with Mufasa. When Mufasa was talking through his spirit to his son Simba, he said, "Remember who you are. Remember who you are." And so I think that's a very important aspect. Even as leaders, even as we're leading, sometimes we just forget who we are. We get so caught up in making sure everything and everybody else is okay, and making sure that we're trying to dot every I and cross every T, that we just forget who we are and forget about taking care of ourselves. And that's why you have me, the Leaders Coach, Dr. Shanita Brown, because I am so very passionate about leaders. I've been a leader since I was like 12, 13 years old, and I'll tell you that story. I think I've already told you that story. Go back to the first season, I believe around the episode 1, episode 2, and you will hear more of my story. And I'll bring that out again one day in one of these seasons. And so again, just a little encouragement for you as you are going throughout your journey, because we're all on our own separate journey. And so with that being said, I want to thank everybody for always tuning in. Thank you for sharing the love, and just being there in what we call this digital podcast world. So I definitely feel the love. So thank you for being there in this podcast world. As always, you guys can make sure you check us out on our website at theleaderscoachpodcast.com. That's theleaderscoachpodcast.com. You guys can also follow us on our Instagram at theleaderscoachpod. That's the Leaders Coach Pod. You guys can email us as well. I know some people are like, oh, email is out. No, email is not outdated. I know we live in a social media world, but we are professionals over here. So you guys can make sure that you email us at leaderscoach@ShanitaBrown.com. That's leaderscoach@ShanitaBrown.com. All right, so y'all already know how we do. This is what we do when we jump into the Leaders Coach. We always start off with our question of the day. And for those who are new, those who are just listening, the question of the day is something that I do. It's kind of like an icebreaker, and whatever question pops up is the question that I answer. And so this question says, complete this sentence. I just won the lottery. If you're looking for me tomorrow, I'll be, and then it has a blank spot. Where will you be? So that's an incredible question. Where will I be? Oh man. If I want the lottery tomorrow, if I want the lottery, and if you're looking for me tomorrow, I'll be probably on the plane going somewhere to the Caribbean where the water is, somewhere with some water, and where it's warm, and just enjoying nature. As I've spoken about it in my previous podcast, I really love nature. And so I think I will be on a beach in the Caribbean, eating some good old Caribbean food, probably eating grapes, just chilling on the beach at an all inclusive resort and just enjoying life. I think that'll be my first thing, and then I probably will go back to work. It's funny that this question popped up. I had a coworker this week. He said, Dr. Brown, he said, let me know if you need anything. I said, man, you got $1 million? And he said, man, so I kind of started chuckling. He's like, if I had $1 million, I probably wouldn't be here, but I know you'll be here, And I was like, man, so there goes to show you that I really love what I do and I love my job. And you know what? And he's actually right. Now, this is the wrong way to think. So y'all bypass me from this way, but from this thinking. But I would probably, I gotta humble myself a little bit. But I'll probably be like, if I don't show up to work, I don't have to, and probably just wouldn't show up. I'll still put my days in, but just doing whatever because I know I have this extra money. But as we know that, and that's the wrong way to be, but sometimes it's not humanity that pops up. And so just because we have the money, that doesn't mean that our character should go down. But that happens a lot, right? Goes back to my example. I got this money, so I don't have to show up. I don't have to, I do need to call in, but I don't have to show up. I can come when I want to and just do, no, I don't need this job. And sometimes it's like that. And so that's a part of us being human, but that's why we're here to help each other. So all that to say, don't let money change you. Don't let money change you. All right, so you guys, we're going to go ahead and hop to our next topic. And our next topic of the day is what inspired you? What inspired you? Number one, a few things inspired me this week. Well, give a shout out to my school. I work for International Leadership of Texas, and my school, we received an A rating for the 24-25 school year. And that's the first in its conception, the first in history. And the school has been, this particular campus has been in existence since 2017. And this was our first year that we scored an A rating. And we scored an A across the board. And we are the highest ranking high school among our charter district. And so our principal, he gave us that message on Friday before we were about to leave from work. And I was like, man, I'm so glad to be a part of something tangible, of something that you can actually see. Because some people are part of things that they can't see. And shout out to my principal. This is his first year working. Well, this is going to his second school year. And for him to be able to achieve this, just going into his second school year as principal for our campus, I think that speaks volumes of leadership and also vision. And a shout out to all of the teachers in the grade level administrator. I'm a grade level administrator, and I'm going into my second year as a grade level administrator, and just the leadership that I have to display for my grade level and for my students, and just the coming together of like minds and sharing the vision and making sure that we're there. I think that just speaks so much volume. And so that's one of the things that inspired me this week, was the fact that we did it. That shows that we have an amazing team. And not only do we have an amazing team, we also have an amazing, incredible leadership. And so kudos, shout out. That's one of the things that inspired me. And because sometimes you want to know that what you're doing is working. What you're doing is working. One of the churches that I've attended over my years of going to church, you could actually see tangible things of what it is that they were doing. You can see the transformation, because we're talking about transformation, right? You could see the lives that were being changed. You can see the work, and you can see where the tithes and the offering and all those things were going in the schools that they were going into, and transforming those schools and different things like that. So it's good to be a part of something that's doing something, right? And that speaks again to leadership. And so With that being said, I want you to find something that you are a part of, that you can be a part of, that you will see results of what it is that you are a part of. You will see the results of the fruits of your labor. So shout out to my campus, shout out to my team, shout out to my leadership, shout out to the teachers, shout out to the students because they put in the work too, and also just looking for an even better rating this upcoming school year. All right, so we're going to go ahead and head into our next topic. This next topic is what's going on in the world of leadership, right? What's going on in the world of leadership? And I think one of the things that is happening in our world of leadership is leading in a way that it's leading in a way that's hard to see, right? And so I think in this time of leadership, we are needing courageous leaders to stand and do what is right. Courageous leaders to stand and do what is right. Stand and do what is right. I think that's so important in leadership because we can stand for a lot of things, but do we stand for the things that are right? And yes, right can be subjective, but that's why we have policies and laws and different things in place, and you have your own personal moral compass as to what is right. And so with that being said, leaders that are listening, whether you're leading in your home, whether you're leading an organization, whether you're leading your family, whether you're leading yourself, which that's the first thing you should be leading, the first person and entity you should be leading. Wherever you're leading, wherever you find yourself leading, have the courage to do what's right. And that is so, it's easier said than done, because it goes back to what I was saying earlier about my coworker that asked, hey, if you want the lottery, well, he said that you probably would still be here. But, in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know, because I'll probably be doing whatever I wanted to do, showing up when I want to show up, different things like that. Instead of having the courage to stand for what's right, I'm allowing my character to fall by the wayside and standing on things that does not reflect who I am. This does not reflect the leadership that I want to display. And so that's where that courage comes in, right? It's that courage to stand for what is right. Oh man. And so I think that's what's going on in the world of leadership. We need courageous leaders. That's why we have this generation of young people, Gen Z and all these generations that's behind me as a millennial, and they are very opinionated because the world has cultivated a stage where they can speak their minds and say what they want to say and different things like that. But one of the things that I do like about that, because you have to have a certain level of courage to still stand and to still speak against or for what it is that you believe, right? And so again, be courageous. We need courageous leaders. Stand up for what you believe in. Use your voice and be steadfast. Don't be one of those people that's moving to the right, moving to the left. And that really takes a very introspective look within ourselves, within our hearts, to really stand on, like the young people say, on business. Business, that's what they say, business. And to be courageous and to live your life according to a standard that you've set for yourself, in spite of what the external things that are going on around you. And if you're struggling with that, because we're human, we struggle with things, I think it's important to know that at least you're struggling, right? At least you're struggling, because I'll be real concerned if you weren't struggling and you just did whatever. You had no standard or no moral compass. And so be a courageous leader. Be a courageous leader. which gets us into our next part of the Leaders Coach podcast. And if you guys are enjoying what you hear on the Leaders Coach podcast, please make sure that you are going to our website, theleaderscoachpodcast.com. You guys can also be a guest. If you go to our website, you click be our guest. Click on that form. Somebody from my team will be back with you within 24 to 48 hours. Or you may say, hey, I have a question. And if you go to our homepage on our website, right there in the center, you will see share your thoughts. And that's where you can share your thoughts. You can click on that. And once you click on it, it actually leaves a voice message, kind of like back in the day, old school, before, the people would call your home. You actually had an answering machine, an actual machine that would play out loud, because sometimes we did this before we had caller ID. And so let's say if somebody called, the phone is ringing, and then you heard a familiar voice, hey, this is your mama, just checking, and you run to the phone and you pick it up. Those were the times. And so we're going back to that. So you will be able to leave a voice message and share your thoughts, whatever it is that you would like to share, any value, insight that you want to add. We are here for you, and we want to hear from you. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our topic for today. The topic is courage to lead what you've never seen. Just came back. We just got from having courage, right? What's going on in leadership? We need courageous leaders, but also the courage to lead what you've never seen. Because we're still talking about transformation. This is season 2, and we're still talking about transformation. And so again, that transformation is just this dramatic change, this process, this evolution, this revision that we go through. It is a dramatic change in form or appearance. It's something that when people see you, they was like, oh man, it's something that has changed about you. You are not the same. It is the instance of transforming or being transformed. It is the appearance or the character of something or someone. It's a complete change, meaning this is kind of like oral surgery, like facial surgery. You were like, man, this is not even, I was about to call out some celebrities, but I'm not gonna do that. But it's a few celebrities that come to mind from their baby picture to now. It's like, man, they don't even look the same. That is a complete transformation in their physical body, right? And so the transformation that I'm speaking about, the transformation that I believe that we have to be as leaders, is that transformation in our heart and in our mind. And I say our heart because I believe I brought this up during our last episode. I talked about Dr. Anita Phillips. She has a book called The Garden Within, which is an amazing book. And it talks about the heart being the soil and our mind being what comes from that soil, right? So because Proverbs 4:23 says, out of the heart flows the issues of life. And so what has to be transformed is our heart, because what's in our heart, it's going to show up in the fruit will show up in our minds. And as a result, it shows up in our behaviors and our values and different things like that. And so that's why it has to be a drastic change as you are walking this transformational journey as a leader. Now, let me be clear before I get back to the topic. That drastic change does not necessarily mean that you as a person, you change at your core or your identity, whatever your identity is rooted in. And for the sake of context and the sake of this show, you guys know it's a faith-based show. And so for me, my identity is rooted in God, in Christ, right? And so that's where the transformation begins, because now I believe I am identifying myself with something greater than myself. And I believe that. And so because I believe that, my heart is being transformed. And as my heart is being transformed, the soil in relation to Dr. Anita's book, it's transforming my mind. And as it's transforming my mind, it's showing up in my actions and showing up in my behavior. And so again, you are leading, when we're talking about the courage to lead what you've never seen, you are actually leading a new version of yourself. So this is a new version that you've never seen. And I tell my students all the time, I would not want to go back to being a teenager. I wouldn't even want to go back to being in my early 20s. I think I would start around that 35 mark, even though I'm just a few years uh, older than 35. I think I would start at 35 mark, because that's the time where I really, it's kind of like when you get those new shoes, you break them in, right? You break in those new shoes. And so there was a time when I feel like I really just kind of broke in to knowing who I am as a woman, as a person, having purpose. Though all of these years I have been operating my purpose, I've had an ideal and a sense of who I was because I was operating in it. But I don't know, it's just a wonderful change came over me, and as a result, that transformation has shown up. And so, how do you lead, the courage to lead what you've never seen? We see it all the time. Parents who have kids who never probably weren't, who were never parented, or parents who have children and your parents weren't the best, right? Or a man that's wanting to be married and have a family, but he never saw a man lead his family. So how do we have the courage to lead what we've never seen? And sometimes, and that's where your faith has to come in, because sometimes God calls us to build without a blueprint, because it takes faith to believe what it is that you know that you've been given, the thing that's in your heart. How do I lead people and create this vision with a thing that's in my heart? As we know, you may have been called to pioneer something that nobody in your family, your community, or your organization, they don't know. So how do I have this courage to lead people to a place that I've never seen? It's your faith. You are called to build the table. As I've echoed before in this show, you have everything that you need on the inside of you. And on the inside of you is a seed that's ready to be watered, ready to be cultivated, so you can lead and be who it is that you want to be. Because God will never call something out of you that he didn't put in you. He told Joseph, be courageous and of good cheer. So because Joseph was in a place, Joshua was in a place of he was fearful. And God had to remind him, have courage. Have courage. And so as we're having courage, we are understanding that we are not just leaning on ourselves, but that we're leaning on our faith. We're leaning on that seed that's on the inside of us. And that we're leading a generation, whether it's our family generation or whether it's a friend generation, organizational generation. We're leading a generation to a certain place, to a certain way, because our courage expands what others will see. They will say, man, because Dr. Brown did this, this is possible. Because so-and-so did that, this is possible. And so leading what you've never seen requires anchoring in faith and vision. So I want to encourage you all, as you are leading courageously in a place that you've never seen, because now you're leading, not because as you're transforming, you're leading yourself. And this is a version of yourself that you've never seen, but you have to have that faith and you have to believe. And it goes back to that identity, because you're rooted in something. And because you're rooted in something, you don't just trust only what you see. You trust what you know to be possible, and that possibilities is in your heart. So let me give you some steps on how you can lead courageously in areas that you've never seen before. I'm going to use my principal for an example. At least on our campus, I don't know his past, but at least on our campus, he had to lead an organization to a place that they've never seen before. And I'm not even sure if he hadn't seen it, but let's say for the sake of the story that he has not even seen this place. And so because he probably have not seen this place, he had to lead. He had to make the vision clear. He had to lead by example. He had to surround himself with mentors, with people that also believe the vision. They, as we were going along the way, constant reminders of inspiration and motivation, and you can do this, and giving ourselves grace and understanding what the vision is, and aligning people with their strengths to get to what that vision is. Because courage doesn't remove uncertainty, but it gives us the boldness to take the next step. And again, that boldness, that courageousness is rooted in our faith. So, as we've been going through these past episodes and we've had these reflection questions, who am I becoming? Because I know there's a change that's going on in my heart. Who am I becoming? What am I unwilling? These are the questions from the previous episodes. What am I unwilling to let go of that's keeping me from my next? This is courage. It takes courage to lead what you've never seen. I've never seen this version of myself. I've never seen how this version of myself will lead organizations and operate and operate and help flip organizations and transform organizations. But I want to leave you guys with this one. How can I cultivate faith that's stronger than my fear of the unknown? That's our next reflection question. How can I cultivate faith that's stronger than my fear of the unknown? Because leaders take steps. Leaders are courageous. Leaders stand on business. Leaders believe in the vision. And not only do they believe in the vision, but they have to have a level of trust with those that they lead to be able to do the things that they are supposed to do to help get to the common goal. And it also takes courage, because now I'm leading people that I've never had to lead before. I'm leading mindsets that I've never had to lead before. I am leading an organization that has never seen this, for the sake of an example, this A rating before. So how do I lead? How do I have the courage to lead what I've never seen? And it's your faith. And your faith has to be cultivated. And it has to be stronger than the fear of the unknown. Look within yourself. Ask yourself these questions. That's why we have these reflection questions. Go back to, who am I becoming? What am I unwilling to let go of to get where it is that I need to go? Because we're building something. And as you guys are reflecting on these questions over these past few weeks, throughout these episodes, it's helping you get to a place to where your authentic, your best self will be able to show up in the situation, because you're putting the work in. Because transformation is not easy, but it's worth it. How can I cultivate faith that's stronger than the fear of the unknown? I want you guys to think about that. Whether you have mentors, or whether you have a support system, or whether you're reading books, or whatever you're doing to build your faith, that's what's going to be needed to lead courageously in the areas and in places that you've never seen before. You got to trust where you're going. Trust that seed that's on the inside of you and watch it grow. Hey, this has been the Leaders Coach with Dr. Shanita Brown. Please follow us on Instagram at the Leaders Coach Pod. Also go to our website, theleaderscoachpodcast.com. You guys can also hit us up through email at leaderscoach@shanitabrown.com. Let us know what you think about this episode. Hit us up on our Spotify. Also, we're on every digital platform. Apple, I was about to say Apple TV, but one day we will be Apple TV. Apple, Pandora, iHeart. Just type in the Leaders Coach with Dr. Shanita Brown, and you guys will be able to hear. Make sure you share this episode. Share this with somebody that is having a hard time leading in a place that they've never seen. Maybe it's a new mother. Maybe it's a new father. Maybe it's a new CEO trying to transform a business. Let them know, hey, your faith is going to be the thing that's going to lead you beyond your fear. All right. Until next time, y'all stay up, stay blessed. Peace. This has been the Leaders Coach Podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown.